Welcome back to Cryptid Adventure, the channel where we uncover the most terrifying cryptids and legendary creatures on Earth. Today, we're venturing deep into an ancient forest in Western Europe, where a monster doesn't need fangs, fire, or claws. All it needs is one glance and you're permanently turned to stone. Its name? The Basilisk, the Serpent King. Don't stare at the screen too long, because its gaze might still be watching. Are you ready? Let's begin. But before we talk about its deadly power, we have to go back to the darkest moment, the horrifying origin of the Basilisk, a birth that defied the laws of nature, born from Mother Nature's worst nightmare. Hundreds of years ago, deep in an ancient, overgrown forest in Western Europe, a strange, oversized snake egg, jet black shell glistening like scales, much larger than a chicken egg and reeking of rotting flesh, somehow rolled and tumbled straight into a chicken coop. The hens panicked and fled. They could sense something unnatural, something that didn't belong to this world growing inside that cursed egg. None of them dared go near it, let alone sit on it. They screamed in terror and abandoned the nest. Finally, only one brave creature stepped up, an old rooster, already 7 years old, feathers ragged, eyes cloudy, comb pale and drooping. He climbed on that unnatural egg and incubated it for 21 days and nights straight, even though he knew something was horribly wrong. Perhaps that very strangeness that sealed his fate. On the 21st night, under a crescent moon, the egg cracked open with a blood-curdling scream that echoed throughout the entire forest. From the darkness emerged a grotesque hybrid monster, head of a rooster with a blood-red comb, topped with a jagged crimson crown of bone, body of a gigantic lizard, long coiling serpent tail, massive bat-like wings covered in spikes and razor-sharp claws. That was the Basilisk. From the very second it hatched, its skin oozed an ultra-powerful venom. One touch and any living creature dropped dead instantly, and its eyes carried a deadly curse. One single glance turned its prey to solid stone forever. The snakes of the forest felt its overwhelming power. They gathered, raised their heads toward the glowing red crown on its head, and whispered, "Look, a crown of fire on its head. It was born to be king." From that moment on, the Basilisk was crowned the Serpent King, and the true nightmare began. The Basilisk grew at an unnatural speed. It declared itself ruler of all snakes. The snakes of the forest bowed and worshipped it. Soon the entire woods became a living hell. Bears, wolves, deer, everything was wiped out by the Basilisk and its army of snakes. Its legend spread beyond the forest. The bravest knight in the land suited up in the thickest iron armor, grabbed the longest spear, and laughed, "Venom? I have steel." He charged straight into the Basilisk's lair on horseback. The spear struck true, but the Basilisk only sneered. Its venom crawled up the spear shaft, seeped through the thick iron plates, and burned into the knight's flesh. In seconds, both rider and horse turned to rigid corpses, dead on the spot. The basilisk's terror grew. Kings panicked and sent an entire army, hundreds of armored knights with shields and lances, marching into the forest. They surrounded the lair. Victory seemed certain. Then the basilisk raised its head. Its death glare exploded like lightning. With just a few glances, the entire army was instantly petrified. Hundreds of stone knights stood frozen forever in the middle of the woods. But every monster has a weakness. The invincible Serpent King was terrified of a rooster's crow. Just one sound, and the colossal beast trembled like a frightened mouse. The chickens of the forest gathered in panic and raced to the old rooster who had hatched the monster. The ancient bird, blind and frail, gasped, "Only one creature can help, the mongoose, the legendary snake hunter." They found the old mongoose king, retired deep in a cave for decades. The chickens knelt, tears in their eyes. "Save us! Save the entire forest from this nightmare!" The old mongoose slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was still razor sharp. He took a deep breath and roared, "Agreed, I will end this monster with my own teeth." He slipped into the basilisk's lair like a shadow. The monster, perched on a pile of bones, snapped its head up. Its hell-red eyes flared. The basilisk glared. The death glare flashed like lightning, but the mongoose dodged at blinding speed and struck like a whirlwind. Claws tore the air, fangs ripped into monster flesh, roars, ripping meat, venom spraying everywhere. The sound shook the trees. Blood gushed, and every plant around them withered instantly. The basilisk, 10 times larger, slammed the mongoose to the ground. Razor claws stabbed deep. The mongoose was bleeding heavily, breath ragged. The basilisk opened its massive jaws, ready to crush his neck. In that split second of death, from the darkest bushes, a young rooster, grandson of the old one, leapt out like lightning. He threw his head back, eyes wide, and crowed with all his ounce of his soul. "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" The crow exploded through the forest like thunder. The basilisk let out an ear-splitting shriek of pure agony and terror. It dropped the mongoose and fled like a mad creature, smashing ancient trees as it ran. It sprinted straight to a small forest lake. The water was mirror still under the moonlight. The basilisk bent down to drink and saw its own hideous reflection staring back. Rooster head with blood-red crown, black serpent body, eyes like the pits of hell. It screamed in horror, a cry so loud birds dropped from the sky and trees trembled. At that exact moment, the old mongoose, wounded and covered in blood, leapt from the shadows like a ghost. His fangs sank deep into the basilisk's throat. The monster thrashed wildly, tail whipping, wings beating like a hurricane, but the mongoose wouldn't let go. His jaws clamped tighter, deeper, deeper still. The basilisk gave one final blood-curdling shriek, then went rigid and collapsed dead on the lakeside. The old mongoose, exhausted and poisoned, lay beside the corpse and breathed his last with a satisfied smile. The forest buried the brave mongoose as a hero. Without the basilisk, the snakes lost their power. Peace returned. But the legend of the Serpent King still lives on stormy nights, and people still whisper, "Never look it in the eyes, and always keep a live rooster nearby."
So, do you think the basilisk is just a myth, or is it still hiding in some European forest right now? Drop your answer in the comments. If you ever faced the basilisk, would you bring a rooster or a mirror? Smash that like button, subscribe to Cryptid Adventure, and turn on notifications so you never miss another terrifying cryptid story. I'm your host, Cryptid Adventure, and I'll see you in the next episode. But remember, don't stare too long at the screen. Stay safe out there.